Good morning and welcome to All Faiths Sunday service. I'm the Reverend C.J. McGregor, and along with Susan Meissner, I'll be leading the service this morning. Here at All Faiths, you will find a diverse and inclusive spiritual community where we welcome people with many beliefs, and you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind and expansive heart. And at All Faiths, we have more than one way of experiencing the world and understanding the sacred. And no matter who you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, and no matter whom you love, you are truly welcome here. If you would like to know more about All Faiths or membership, please visit our website at allfaithsuu.org. I have some announcements this morning. First, an alert. There is a boil water order in Fort Myers due to a water main break. You should know about that. This morning, or today, this Sunday, is Share the Plate, and a percentage of our offertory will be going to One Tree, an organization sponsored by our climate action team. Today at 11:30, we have our talk back after this service where we have a discussion about the message that's delivered this morning. That's at 11:30 on Zoom. There is no book club tomorrow, which is Monday. The book club will resume in October. Monday at 7 o'clock is our Odyssey. Marge DeGalbo will be joining us. That's on Zoom. Tuesday at 10 a.m., the Racial Equity Team will be meeting on Zoom. Also, that evening on Tuesday, we will have our meditation gathering on Zoom. Wednesday at 6:30, Building Your Own Theology will be on Zoom. This is the second session of our 8-part session or program. And Thursday at 2 o'clock, Heart for the Homeless will hold their meeting on Zoom. And Thursday at 5:30, there is a Life House meeting with Lana Cowell. That will also be on Zoom. And every Thursday at 7 p.m., the Child and Youth gather on Zoom with Chantel Rhodes. And Sundays at 9 a.m., please join News Talk with Richard Keelan. That will also be on Zoom. So all of these programs are on Zoom, and you will receive an email from the office letting you know the link and how to join. Please rise in body or spirit and sing hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Oh, don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
As Susan Meissner lights our chalice, please join in reciting the words printed in your order of service. As we light this flame, may we reflect upon the many ways in which we can renew the lives of ourselves and others by reaching out to support and embrace all those in need. Please join in singing Go Now in Peace as our children and youth join Chantel Rhodes on Zoom for their programs.
Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Please join in singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life shape and justice. Lord, hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Each Sunday we share our joys and sorrows that we have felt with the congregation, and even as we are apart, we still have that opportunity. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like to share with the congregation, please be in touch during the week, and I will be sure to share it during our Sunday service. I'm lighting a candle for Vanessa Gilliard, who was in an accident yesterday. She is home now safe. I'm lighting a candle for the McGregor family as they have received some news, unwelcome news about their daughter Quillen. I'm lighting a candle for John Conrad and his family. John's sister died earlier in the week. Keep him and his family in your thoughts. And I'm lighting this final candle for all the joys and the sorrows that remain silent and in our hearts. Let us join in a few moments of silence.
Thank you, Ed. This morning's opening words were penned by Jean Sager. 4 planes, 19 hijackers, 2,997 lives lost, a nation left shattered. It's hard to believe that it has been 20 years since the World Trade Center and Pentagon were hit by hijacked airplanes, and since passengers took down an airplane in a Pennsylvania field to foil the terrorists on board. Now, September 11th is known as the National Day of Service and Remembrance.
Where were you when the tall gray towers fell to the ground, showering chaos, innocent people running around, peace and harmony done and gone in every town. Heroes and villains, some of them will never be found. 911 is a call for emergency. 911 is a call for unity. 911 is a call for waking up. 911 still calling you. 911 is calling you. It's a call for all to come and live together again, making love and making time for calling old friends, righting wrongs, wrongs that pushed the limits of sin down for the count. But we got up, we know where we've been. 911 is a call for emergency. 911, it's a call for unity. 911 is a call for waking up. 911 still calling you. 911 is calling you. It's so amazing. It's so incredible. Forever changing. Is calling you.
Our reading this morning is titled In Remembrance, 2 Decades After 9/11 by Dr. J. Ortega. There are moments or momentous events that get etched into our memories as signposts demarcating life before and after. The impact of such events ripples through our lives, whether personal, communal, or collective, in unimaginable ways. It may be the birth of a long expected child or a beloved person transitioning into ancestor status. That may also take the form of a communal response to a tragedy, the collective coming together to join in the raw language of grief. Signpost events such as these not only impact the lives of others, It especially impacts the lives of those who witness them. They have a curious way of being imprinted on later generations whose lives are marked in the wake of the memories of the witnesses. 9/11 is one of those signpost events, not only in our national life in the United States, but also in the memory of many nations. We're at the threshold of 2 decades since September 11th, 2001. And around the country and around the world, many will gather in remembrance of the losses suffered on that day. Families, friends, communities will honor the memory of their dear ones lost in the towers, those who perish trying to comfort others. There will be gatherings to observe the high cost of the subsequent military interventions, their successes, missed opportunities, and failures that will haunt our collective lives and that of our children's children. Herein is a lesson that has been a hard one to heed, to learn the sins and shortcomings of one generation are visited upon by another. 2 decades after 9/11, we have an opportunity to move beyond nationalistic impulses and take stock of what our national response to that event unleashed in our world ever since. It has been a curious phenomenon that seeking justice as our nation did have an underside that often escapes our attention. Perhaps at this moment, as we grieve our losses anew in remembrance of 9/11, we will find it upon our collective spirit to expand the circle of grief. Every place visited by armed conflicts bears the slow healing of ecological wounds and devastation. Lands are polluted in ways that take decades to decontaminate and sometimes may never be restored. Contaminants in the food and water supplies leave their imprints in bodies with long-term health effects. As a nation, we don't always honor the sacrifice of those taking the oath of service and risk their lives, and worse yet, fall short on our promise to care for them by making lackluster decisions and politicizing their care after service. As a nation, we have also agreed to sacrifice individual liberties and civil rights for the sake of national protection in ways that unduly impact members of color and religious minorities in our communities. As we cross the threshold of the 2-decade-long wake of 9/11 with a deep sense of urgency, we should ask ourselves, how do we remember and memorialize the tragedies that shift our lives? What are our responsibilities of care to heal the personal, collective, and even global wounds resulting from our response to 9/11? What will the subsequent generations learn from witnessing how we chose to move from this day forth? May compassion, not pride, guide our actions. May care for the world temper our responses. And may we truly love justice to nurture hope instead of hate. And so ends the reading. Please join in singing hymn number 338, I Seek the Spirit of a Child. The words are printed at the bottom of your order of service.
I seek the spirit of a child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the world alive and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond all our day. I see joy's gift to our heart. I seek the freedom of a child who loves instinctively, who lights our day with just a smile and shines that light on all we see. it's a gift to our cheers. I see the wonder of a child who sees delightfully. Now clowns and cloud, now golden sun, imagination's true and free. Children are real beyond all life. May I see faith's a gift to our eyes.
This morning's message is titled A Stranger's Child, and it's based on my own personal experience with respect to September 11th, 2001. Some of us remember where we were when JFK was assassinated in 1963. But some 50-odd years later, nearly all of us remember where we were on September 11th, 2001, when almost 3,000 people were murdered in terrorist attacks on our own soil. As the days and weeks were followed by unrelenting media stories, the depth of this tragedy was apparent everywhere one looked. TV, radio, online, and printed news media. So many people around the U.S. were sadly affected by the loss of life and the loss of innocence surrounding our daily lives. More than ever in our past, we now needed Big Brother to watch over and protect us. We felt grief-stricken, violated, and some of us felt helpless with our own security in our daily lives. I was no exception. I kept asking the same question: how could this have happened to the almighty United States of America? As the weeks and months passed, I discovered that I was a fringe person to the September 11th tragedy. I didn't personally know anyone who had died in the attacks, nor did I know anyone who knew anyone. Yes, I am a U.S. citizen, and this tragedy happened to my country and my fellow countrymen, but nothing personally happened to me. I could sympathize with all those souls so badly affected by the tragedy, but I could not empathize. I am simply not a member of that tragic club. Being unable to help in any meaningful way after September 11th, I just moved on with my life. As the 2001 Christmas holidays approached, my family began to make holiday plans. We had a tradition. My 2 parents, 1 sister, 2 brothers, their families, and myself always spent the week between Christmas and New Year's at our family's lake house in New Hampshire. This was an event the entire family of 17 people looked forward to. My parents would become parents again, my siblings and I would turn into teenagers again, and the grandchildren would watch and delight as their parents were chastised by their grandparents. One year, my young nephew was gifted a rubber-tipped dart gun in his Christmas stocking. Suddenly, the sound of breaking glass filled the air. My nephew suddenly screamed, "I didn't do it." My 2 adult brothers were shooting ornaments off the Christmas tree, and my father was hollering, "I'll box your ears if you do that again." It was also customary for our 7 school-age grandchildren to bring an occasional neighborhood or school chum up to our lake house on holiday weekends or during summer months. The Christmas of 2001 was no different. My 9-year-old niece brought up a little girl to spend the December school vacation week with our family. We now had a full house of 18 people. In addition to my family's many traditions, I had a personal tradition at my family's lake house. My bedroom had a king-size bed and a big box TV with a built-in VCR player. Remember those? I also had an enormous collection of old cartoons dating from the era of my childhood. Casper the Friendly Ghost, Felix the Cat, Popeye, and so on that the kids loved. I also had a nightstand drawer filled with candy. Early in the morning, the kids would tumble down to my room and bang on my door. I would call out, "What's the password?" And the reply was always the same. In unison, the kids would scream, "Coffee, black, no sugar." Then the kids would all pile into my bed, settle themselves amongst the pillows and whatever blankies they brought in to watch Auntie Sue's crazy cartoons and eat candy before breakfast. Just an aside, I had learned many years prior that the best candy to give out while watching TV was lollipops. It's very difficult, you see, to talk and suck on a lollipop at the same time. I had invented a rule for all the children. You may have as many lollipops as you can eat, so long as you suck each one to the stick and give me back the evidence. So I always bought a bag of the tiny dum-dum lollipops and usually drank my coffee in relative silence. This early morning tradition also included any guest that the kids brought up to our lake house. The guest was granted the prized position of sitting immediately next to me in my bed. This spot gave the guest the honored right to choose first from the lollipop bag and then dole out the remaining flavors to the others. On this particular vacation morning, a child I had never met sat hip to hip with me in my bed. She was a sweet little girl of about 9 years old. After an hour or so, my youngest brother appeared at my bedroom door to summon the kids for breakfast. The kids tumbled out of my bed, and I proceeded to pick lollipop sticks and wrappers from my bedsheets. My brother hesitated, then quietly closed my bedroom door and proceeded to ask me a favor. Would I please let all the kids use my room all week in order to watch my collection of cartoons? Apparently, my brother had told all the kids that the TV in our family room was broken and couldn't be fixed until after the holidays. When I asked what happened to the TV, my brother simply said that the TV was fine and that he had shut off the circuit breaker to the TV so that no one could watch anything all week. When I asked why, my brother calmly sat down on my bed and told me that the little girl sitting next to me in my bed in her flowered pajamas was in fact the daughter of the airline pilot who was forced to fly the plane into the World Trade Center on September 11th. Apparently, the pilot, his wife, and 2 young children lived in my brother's neighborhood. My brother and his wife took the pilot's daughter, while another neighbor couple took the pilot's son for the school vacation week. This enabled the pilot's widow to spend time alone with her parents and siblings for much needed support. Meanwhile, my brother had disabled our TV so as to keep any 9/11 news away from the pilot's daughter, the other children, and ourselves. My brother then asked me to do everything I could think of to make this a fun week for all of the children. In other words, I was to be the best and most creative Auntie Sue that I could ever be. Once alone in my room, I pondered the tragedy of 9/11. How did I go from being a fringe observer to this tragedy to being front and center, facing a little girl who can't possibly make sense of her father's death? Suddenly, my own vacation ceased. I had a daunting job to do, and I needed to focus all my efforts on the care of a stranger's child. Fortunately, I had help from a most unexpected source. Mother Nature came to my rescue. She provided the snow, and I provided the sleds, snowballs, game ideas, hot cocoa, and anything else that my furtive brain could think of. When indoors, it was arts and crafts, cartoons, popcorn, dress-up, games on the living room rug, and even one excursion out to breakfast at the local diner. But of all the things I did with the children, one memory stands out above all others. One evening, in the dark of night, I gathered up all the children and put them into their bathing suits. I opened up our family's large hot tub, and we all piled in. Suddenly, it started to snow again. Our heads became covered, our eyelashes twinkled with ice flakes, and the yard became freshly coated, obliterating the footprints of the day. Suddenly, I shouted, "Let's make snow angels!" I hopped out of the hot tub, ran barefoot across the snow-covered deck, and down the stairs into the yard. I plopped my hot body down onto the snow and made a snow angel. When I stood up, the snow angel glistened in the moonlight as it froze in the cold air. As I ran back into the hot tub, the kids all piled out into the yard. Snow angels began appearing everywhere as we laughed and ran in and out of the yard and the hot tub. Finally, when the hot tub cooled and our lips became a bit blue, we hurried into the house for showers and PJs. The next morning, as I stood in the living room with a cup of coffee in my hand, I gazed out across the yard. The specter was ethereal. Countless snow angels surrounding the one in the middle, made by the pilot's daughter. I don't personally believe in angels or the hereafter, but the sight on my snow-covered lawn was enough to give me pause for thought. Later that day, my family members began packing up for the trip back to real life. As my brother and his family were leaving, the pilot's daughter ran up to me, threw her arms around my waist, and asked, "Auntie Sue, can I come visit again?" I hugged her with all my might and said, "Yes, I would love to see you again." My purpose in telling this story has nothing to do with me or what I did for this child. It has everything to do with simply doing the best you can when faced with unexpected and difficult circumstances. No one expects or requests perfection. All anyone wants or needs is help, compassion, or a shoulder. All that you need to do is to try your best in whatever way you can. It doesn't make any difference what the circumstances are, good, bad, or indifferent. Just accepting the spot you find yourself in and then doing something useful, letting someone in need know that you support them and or help them means more than can be imagined. And the intangible reward for simply being there is the icing on the cake of our lives. I will always remember and cherish the picture in my mind of the snow angels surrounding the pilot's daughter on my lawn. This memory is and will always be a bit of icing from the cake of my life. My simple story has a postscript. I never did see the pilot's daughter again. The pilot's widow sold her family's home and moved away to be nearer to her parents and siblings. My niece did keep in touch with her childhood friend and told me that the pilot's widow had remarried some years later. The two children had graduated from college, and the pilot's daughter was now married herself with a baby on the way. And so ends my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We are grateful for the congregation's generosity in helping us live our faith of justice, equity, and compassion in our community and in the world. If you'd like to make a donation this morning, please use the information that is posted below this video. Freely have we received of gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit, and gladly we bring to our congregation and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. The morning offering will now be given and received.
Now it's been 20 years since the towers fell to the ground. When we stood as one, a moment so profound. We were unified. Now we're all taking sides. We can do better than this. We can do better. Coming together, I miss coming together. Been over 50 years since we first set foot on the moon. And when we learned to dance, singing Woodstock's magical tunes. We've come so far. Now look at who we are. We can do better than this. We can do better. Coming together, I miss coming together. Now it's been 20 years since the towers fell to the ground. When we stood as one, a moment so profound. Ooh.
My closing words were written by an unknown author. On September 10th, 2001, millions of Americans went to bed quietly with no thought that on the next morning their world would change forever. That night, hundreds of people packed flight bags and suitcases that they would not live to open. Thousands laughed, ate, and slept with loved ones for the last time. One never knows what a new day will bring. Live each day to the fullest and never miss a chance to let those dearest to us know of our love for them. So, tonight, if you have someone in your life that you love, tell them. Thank you.
It's all about the love. It's all about the love. When pushing comes to shove, you can rise above it. It's all about the love. Preacher, I've never been a teacher. I just want to send a message out I hope will reach you. It's a solution, a major contribution, way to make the world a better place, a revolution. Nothing new, just a different point of view. We have got to change the way it's done, me and you. Well, take it higher, sing it with the choir, see it, feel it, touch it, hear it, sing. It's all about the love. It's all about the love. Spelled with epic casing. Haters are creators of the violence we are facing. You gotta stand tall, taking up a hand, y'all. No more wishing and submission. Take command, y'all. Reconcile. Go the extra mile. Figure out a better route and leave it with a smile. It's the right thing. Shine a brighter light brings harmony and happiness. Everybody sing. Oh yeah, it's all about love. When pushing rise above, it's all about the love. Now every scripture paints a picture, teaching us that we should love one another.
Robert. I'd like to thank Susan Meissner for her message today. This was a special and important service. To Robert Bidney for his voice and music, Chantel Rhodes for our child and youth program, Regina Kilmartin, who is on camera, Ed Elrod on sound, and Joe Gayton, our sexton. It is good to be together and stay together in whatever way we can. As Susan extinguishes the chalice, please join in reciting the words that are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.